What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with a unique video for you guys. So, I remember a long time ago, like a few years ago, back when Cover Killer Nation was going on YouTube, he did this video before, but I thought to myself, me being a bigger Metallica fan, I wanted to kind of touch on this subject myself. So, for those who remember, yeah, 96 and 97, Metallica released Load and Reload. Now, these two albums are very, very divisive in the world of metal. You have the group of people that love these two albums for the mere fact that, hey, applaud Metallica for trying something different and trying to evolve their sound and not feel stale, and trying to show to the rock and metal world that they are not just a one-trick pony and that they are capable of playing other facets in their sound. Then you have the group of people who absolutely hate these albums, saying like stuff like, "Oh, it's not a thrash album, it's not Kill 'Em All, it's not Ride the Lightning, it's not Master of Puppets, not Injustice for All, hell, it's not even the fucking Black Album." Well, I'm here to kind of set the record straight on these two albums. I personally enjoy these albums. I don't love them as much as I love the classic, the first 5 albums, or even the last 2 albums. But they do belong in the Metallica catalog because it represents a time period where Metallica wanted to embrace their early classic metal influences and alternative stuff, kind of like Black Sabbath and Alice in Chains kind of meshed within their sound and trying to be a slower version of themselves to a lesser degree. That's the way I kind of look at these two albums, and I will say it here, I would like to see some legitimate arguments as to why these albums are bad, because most of the arguments I see people make is just all because, oh, it's not thrash, it's not their old stuff, so therefore it sucks. I'd like to hear some well-articulated thoughts, but while you guys are doing that in the background, I am here to kind of present to you the main thesis of this video, and that is, what songs from Load and Reload would I take to mash together to create a really good Metallica album? Because individually, they're enjoyable albums, but even I, a diehard Metallica fan, will admit there are quite a few filler songs on both of those albums. So what I'm here to do is to kind of give you what are the best songs from each album that I would put together into one album that I think would have made some fans happy, and I think would have made people shit on this a lot less. So, to kind of kick things off, we're going to go from track 1, so it's going to be 11 songs, and I'll talk about them as we go along. So what would I have as the opener? I would go with Fuel, because it's a fast and furious thrasher. Yeah, it's not like heavy thrash, it's in this like more alternative style that they were going for, this more hard rock approach, but it's a thrasher. And me being a racing guy, really liked the song growing up. And also, I mean, once you hear that opening line, give me fuel, give me fire, give me with which I desire, and then it just goes fast and furious throughout the rest of the song, and great riffing, cool chorus. I think this is an appropriate opener for this mashup I'm doing. What would I have to follow that album? I would choose The Memory Remains. I think that Reload, the big advantage Reload had over Load was the first 2 tracks were definitely better on Reload than on Load. And The Memory Remains kind of continuing a bit of a momentum shift going on as it's slowing things down to like Black Sabbath territory, and of course, another memorable chorus. I mean, both of these albums do have memorable choruses in quite a few songs. This is definitely one of those that I think should belong on a mashup that I'm creating here. And then to follow up with that, the first song from Load I'm going to include is The House That Jack Built. I think in terms of like that bluesier approach that they were going for during this period as well, I think this was one of the better tracks of that style because, man, there's some underrated riffs in this song, and Hetfield's voice kind of going a little bit all over the place, and using the talk box I thought was really, really cool. I mean, I always like when talk boxes get used, mostly for the weird factor in certain songs, like, you know, Man in the Box and Living on a Prayer, and some other ones here and there, if you can tell me more. But yeah, this was another one that had one of those talk box effects with the guitars, but I think that this song itself is quite underrated, and I think it would be a great fit on this album. Following that would be the song Devil's Dance. Yeah, it kind of feels like Sad But True Part 2, but it's another heavy, doomy, bluesy song, and a little bit more aggressive than most of the songs on these two albums, and I think you need a little bit of that aggression, and I think Devil's Dance is a perfect fit for that more aggressive tone to go with the rest of the songs. Then Unforgiven II. You gotta have the Unforgiven II on this, because the Unforgiven trilogy is a great trilogy of songs. The original will still be the best. Second one was pretty good. The third one was amazing in its own right, but the Unforgiven II, a more somber, moody piece within the three songs, and I've loved the song since I first heard it when I was a kid, and I think it definitely belongs on a mashup of these two. Now, this song is probably going to irk some people. That's like, out of all the songs you're choosing, why are you going to include this one? King Nothing, the second track from Load that I would put in this, is because I love the riffs. I absolutely love the fucking riffs on the song. The bass is quite prominent as well. I mean, that opening while the guitars is going, and then you hear that bass line come in by Jason. Oh, it's magical. And I've loved this song. This was definitely one of my favorites from this time period, so I would include King Nothing on this whole ordeal. Next up, this is the fifth track from Reload that we're going to have, and that's Carpe Diem Baby. I think that's another underrated piece of Metallica history. I mean, it's a little darker, a little more sinister sounding, so I would probably include this one, just so that way more people would discover it, because again, Hetfield's voice, he's kind of going a little bit all over the place in his register, going from the lows to a little, not really like high, but gets higher than usual on this song. So I would include Carpe Diem Baby, and plus, again, riffs galore. Now, the next two are going to be songs from Load that I'm going to include. Next up, my second favorite out of all of these songs from the two albums, Bleeding Me. I think in terms of Load, it was hands down the best song on the album. I loved this song since I first heard it when I was a kid, and it still sticks with me from time to time. Whenever I'm in the mood to listen to either of these two albums, this is one of the first songs I go to immediately. And Bleeding Me, it's very kind of doomy and gloomy to an extent, but it's just a brilliantly written song, and honestly, you can't do a mashup of Load and Reload to create the perfect Load album without Bleeding Me. Next up, another underrated one, Cure. I think Cure is a really underrated song, and it's a damn good one. And like Hetfield's voice getting a little bit grittier on this. And Lars, people want to say Lars is a bad drummer. I point this song out as where he's doing more fills, like especially in the section. It's been a while since I've listened to this song. I can't remember if this was after the solo or before the solo, where Lars is playing some like build-up drum fills, and I think he did a good job on that. But this song as a whole, I think more people should give it a second chance to, and I think it'd be a good fit on this. the penultimate song, track 10, the final song from Reload, and in my opinion, the best song out of both albums, Where the Wild Things Are. Very dark, murky, kind of Alice in Chains-esque, especially with the vocal harmonies by Hetfield and Newsted towards the end. This has been another go-to favorite of mine from this time period. It's just... oh man, it's so dark and so... like I said, it's murky, and I love the lyrics of this song too. Like, read the lyrics to the... I cannot fucking speak today. Read the lyrics to the song Where the Wild Things Are, and it'll be intriguing to read along to, especially listening to Hetfield deliver those lyrics vocally. But then, what do I have to end the album? None other than Outlaw Torn, and I'm gonna do it the unencumbered version, the one that doesn't get cut off like on load by a minute. The full, nearly 11-minute opus that is the Outlaw Torn. I think in terms of Metallica's longer songs, another underrated one. Like, it's definitely a more Black Sabbath-esque track, especially with the bass kind of carrying the song all throughout, while the riffs kind of have moments to breathe. So yeah, I think the Outlaw Torn would be the perfect closer for a perfect Load album. So to recap, what would I have from Load and Reload to create the perfect Load album? From the top, Fuel, Memory Remains, The House to Jack Build, Devil's Dance, Unforgiven II, King Nothing, Carpe Diem Baby, Bleeding Me, Cure, Where the Wild Things Are, and The Outlaw Torn. So all together, and as you'll maybe see on the left of your screen as they pop up, the song lengths for each, ending with the total length. So we're going for the full bore compact disc format, and we get a little over 70 minutes worth of music. So not as long as the actual albums individually, but the point of this video was to kind of pick what were the great songs off of each album that you would put together into one, and it would have been a very good Metallica album for that more alternative, bluesy, classic metal, hard rock style that they were going for during this time. I think if they had had just these songs on both albums, or no, just those songs that I listed into one album, I think people would shit on the album a whole lot less. But, you know, people can be petty sometimes, and they'll probably shit on it no matter what I say. But anyways, for those of you who are intrigued by this idea, make a video response, and I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. And if you don't want to do a video, let me know in the comments below. What songs from Load and Reload would you take to create the perfect Load album? But until next time, horns high, and I will see you soon. I don't want to do this, but I have no other option.
No! Please! Isn't what
I feel like I'm about to commit the biggest genocide of all time on this show.
Wait,
My number 7?
No!
My number 7? Behemoth the Satanist.
No! 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 Are you serious?
And now Hannah's going to hide in the shadows.
Damn you!
Everybody
Why?
dies.
Why?
You have to do it!